he wasn't just an actor. He was America's superhero. For over a decade, Chris Evans gave us one of the most beloved, most iconic portrayals in film history, Captain America. He stood for justice. He led the Avengers. He was the heart of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But now, he's done, gone, retired, completely out of Hollywood. And this time, it's not a rumor. Chris Evans has officially walked away from the spotlight, from the MCU, from Hollywood, and from the role that made him a global icon. Why would someone at the absolute peak of fame just leave it all behind? What really happened behind those press smiles and action-packed premieres? Was it burnout? Was it Marvel politics? Or was it something even deeper? You're about to hear what the media won't say, what Marvel won't admit, and what Chris Evans finally revealed about the end of his Hollywood journey. This isn't just a celebrity story. It's the story of a man who walked away from millions for peace. Let's dive into why the world's most loved Avenger is done with Hollywood for good. Before he became the first Evans, Chris Evans was just another rising actor in Hollywood trying to find his place. In the early 2000s, he took on roles in lighthearted teen comedies and flashy action flicks, testing the waters of fame, but never quite breaking through. Some knew his name, many didn't. That changed in 2011, when Marvel took a massive gamble by casting him as the most iconic superhero in American pop culture, Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. It wasn't just a role, it was a transformation. Chris Evans didn't just play Captain America, he became him. He trained relentlessly, embodied discipline and humility, and brought emotional depth to a character that could have easily been one-dimensional. Over the next decade, he appeared in 11 Marvel films, from solo stories to global crossovers. Captain America became the moral compass of the Marvel Universe, a leader, a symbol, a warrior. But behind the camera, Evans was still Chris, a deeply thoughtful, introverted soul who never quite felt comfortable in the blinding lights of stardom. In multiple interviews, he confessed his battle with anxiety, his discomfort with the fame machine, and his growing desire to just live a quiet life. But for fans, he was more than a quiet guy from Boston. He was the Shield. He stood for bravery, conviction, hope. He became the face of something bigger. And while the MCU made Chris Evans a household name, it also came with a heavy price: the loss of privacy, peace, and eventually, passion. Still, he gave everything, and the world loved him for it. But as we now know, being a hero on screen doesn't always make you feel like one off screen. And that's where the next chapter of this story begins. Fame has a price, and for Chris Evans, the cost was mounting quietly behind the curtain. On screen, he was the embodiment of strength and resolve. But off screen, there were signs, subtle, easy to miss, that not everything was as perfect as it seemed. In talk shows and interviews, Chris often opened up about his social anxiety, joking about it, brushing it off with charm, but there was truth in his eyes. He once admitted that he used to get physically sick before press tours, that the red carpet, for most a dream, felt like a battlefield for him. In 2014, while promoting Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Evans confessed he was beginning to feel trapped by his own success. To the world, it sounded like a career pivot, but to those paying attention, it was a quiet signal of creative exhaustion. Even on set, cast members noticed. He was always professional, always kind, but his energy began to dim. Long shooting days, endless media tours, the pressure of being Marvel's moral anchor, it was taking a toll. And it wasn't just the workload, it was the repetition. Chris once said, "You get used to playing a character for so long that you stop evolving as an actor." That's the burnout no one talks about, the creative kind, the one where your art no longer excites you, it drains you. Even while fans were cheering, box office numbers were breaking records, and the MCU was changing cinema forever, Chris was quietly retreating from the spotlight. In 2018, he began taking longer breaks between projects. He moved out of Los Angeles. He avoided social media. He began seeking something most celebrities spend their whole careers avoiding: privacy, peace, a reset. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, there were no scandals, no controversies, just a quiet man pulling away from the noise. And while fans were still hoping for another sequel, Chris was already dreaming of a life beyond the shield. For years, fans hoped it was just a break, a pause, maybe even a secret Marvel twist. But in 2023, Chris Evans finally put all the speculation to rest. In an emotional interview, he said, "It's really over." No teases, no cliffhangers, just a simple, honest confirmation that the man behind the shield had truly moved on. For Chris, it wasn't about contracts or money or negotiations. It was about closure. He said goodbye the same way he played Cap, with quiet dignity. In his own words, he said, "I absolutely loved my time with Marvel, but I don't want to keep revisiting the past. I want to move forward with my life." And move forward he did. In 2023, he married Portuguese actress Alba Baptista in a private ceremony, surrounded only by close friends and family. It was the kind of moment that most celebrities can't protect from the public eye, but Chris did. Because now, his life is no longer about premieres, franchises, or the roar of Comic-Con crowds. It's about love, stillness, and most importantly, freedom. And maybe that's the real hero's journey. Not the one with superpowers, but the one where you finally put yourself first. When Chris Evans said, "It's really over," he wasn't just closing a chapter, he was writing a new one. One where the man, not the superhero, finally takes center stage. When a Hollywood icon walks away at the peak of his power, the world always asks, why? And while Chris Evans gave us a clean, graceful goodbye, fans couldn't help but wonder, what really made him hang up the shield? On the surface, it was creative freedom, a chance to direct, produce, and explore projects with meaning. But beneath the surface, there was more. Let's start with the obvious, Marvel burnout. For almost a decade, Chris Evans was Captain America. He didn't just play a role, he became it. Every film, every red carpet, every question came with the weight of the shield. Imagine giving everything to one character, while the rest of your artistic voice is put on pause. Chris began hinting at this tug-of-war as early as 2015, saying he feared being typecast, boxed in, and forgotten outside the Marvel machine. And then there was the personal toll. Evans has always been open about his anxiety. He described red carpets as nerve-wracking, press tours as emotionally draining, and fame itself as a double-edged sword. He didn't hate Hollywood, but he didn't love what it did to him. Over time, it wasn't just about the role anymore. It was about the industry itself. The constant exposure, the pressure to maintain image, and the exhaustion of always performing, even when the camera stopped. In 2022, Evans quietly began dating Portuguese actress Alba Baptista. Their relationship stayed out of the tabloids, intentionally. In 2023, they married, and suddenly the picture became clear. Chris didn't retire because he was done with acting. He retired because he was finally ready to start living. A life away from scripts and sets. A life of normal mornings, unplanned days, and real connection. As he put it himself, "I want to build a life, a real one. That's what matters to me now." So yes, burnout, anxiety, and artistic growth were all part of it. But what really caused Chris Evans to walk away was the quiet realization that peace is the greatest plot twist of all. When Chris Evans said it was over, the world didn't just hear it, it felt it. From Los Angeles to Tokyo, from Sao Paulo to Istanbul, fans everywhere came together in a digital wave of goodbye. And it wasn't just about an actor retiring. It was about saying farewell to an entire era. For millions, Chris Evans was the heart of the Marvel Universe. He was the quiet strength, the moral compass, the guy who reminded us that being a hero wasn't about powers. It was about standing up, even when it's hard. Tributes poured in across the globe. Fans created murals. Artists designed farewell posters. Entire Reddit threads turned into digital memorials. And it wasn't just the fans. Robert Downey Jr. called him a true brother in arms. Kevin Feige said his absence leaves a silence, but his legacy, that echoes forever. Even world monuments got in on the tribute. In a fan-led campaign, buildings around the globe lit up in red, white, and blue. For one night, the world wasn't divided by borders. It was united by a man who once stood for truth, justice, and doing what's right. And just like that, Chris Evans didn't just retire. He became something more. A symbol, a memory, a chapter we'll never forget. Chris Evans may have become a household name as Captain America, but his true legacy, it stretches far beyond the Marvel Universe. He's shown us that behind the muscles and the stars and stripes, there's an artist, a director, a storyteller, and a man who wanted to say something meaningful. From playing a devoted uncle in Gifted to leading a dystopian rebellion in Snowpiercer, Evans constantly challenged himself, and us, to look deeper. But legacy isn't just about roles. It's about how you live off-camera. Chris used his platform to speak up for mental health awareness, for equality, for political responsibility. He launched A Starting Point, a platform designed to help young people engage with politics and make informed decisions. In a time when most celebrities play it safe, Evans chose courage. Not just in action scenes, but in real life. He's used his fame not to rise above people, but to lift them up. To the kids who saw him as a superhero, and to the adults who saw him as a role model. Chris Evans reminded us of something timeless, that character is more than a costume, it's what you do when no one's watching. And now, as he walks away from the spotlight, his legacy becomes something even greater. He's inspired millions, not just to be strong, but to be kind, not just to fight, but to stand. So no, Chris Evans wasn't just Captain America. He became something Marvel couldn't script. A real-world hero, and a legacy that will live far beyond the final cut. Chris Evans may have hung up the shield, but what he gave us, that stays forever. And maybe that's the beauty of it, that real heroes don't just fight battles on screen. They leave behind stories, moments, memories that inspire us to keep going. So if this video brought back memories, if you smiled, teared up, or just whispered "Thank you, Cap" under your breath, then let's give him the send-off he truly deserves. Hit that like button to join the salute. And if you believe in celebrating legacies, in honoring the real stories behind the heroes, then you're in the right place. Tap subscribe and become part of our growing community of fans, storytellers, and dreamers. We're just getting started. He started as a character. He ended as a legacy. I'm Buzz Snitch, and this was our tribute to Chris Evans, our Captain America.